Hey guys, this is Anthony Tucker, BHS Class of 2007, your host of Alumni Chat, and I have the great honor of having the OG Katie Keleher here today. So shout out to her brother for marrying another person named Katie and bringing her into the family. She's awesome, but she's Katie number 2. And so I have OG Katie here. She graduated BHS Class of 2013 with my middle sister, Courtney Tucker. So I've known Katie for quite some time and her family. The Keleher family is a legacy family within our community, very involved, and we appreciate everything that they do for Bartlesville and for Bartlesville Public Schools. Katie, how have you been?
Good. It's nice to be here. It's crazy to walk in and see how much everything has changed in the past almost 12 years since I've been gone.
Yeah.
I got to speak to the digital media classes this afternoon and see this awesome new studio. Like, it's weird. This was my AP English class senior year classroom with Mrs. Boswick, and I don't even know what this room was, but
Storage, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, this is so cool what they have here now.
Yeah, it's so cool that we have all this programming, especially now it's a career type program, which opens up some more funding for us as well. But like, we didn't have all this. Like, I can remember, I had Miss Darla Tresner, who is a sweetheart. I love Miss T. Shout out. But the thing with Miss T, like, Jeff Neptune and I brought back, like, video yearbook and, like, created, like, a cumulative video of, like, senior year and stuff. And then we did live stuff. And, like, I had a radio show with Bartlesville Radio, Mr. Potter. But it's completely different. Like, I feel like I would never be in my other classes if I had this, like, as a student.
Yeah, and it's so I did newspaper a couple of years and journalism class, all with Ms. T, but I always knew I wanted to do broadcast journalism, so this would have been just like a gold mine for me. I would have loved it. So.
They get to practice reading off a teleprompter, which you have plenty of experience doing in your broadcast career.
Yes.
I'm not so great at reading off the teleprompter. I'm better off just like memorizing what I need to say and go with it.
It definitely takes work. My freshman year of college, from my first semester freshman year of college, I started practicing with it, knowing I wanted to go into news after college, and so that was a huge help. So just repetition, but you need to have the skill too of, just talking off the cuff and being a little more natural that way. So both are good.
Yeah. I have like my stump speeches, depending on the audience, especially in my community work here. But definitely I'm better just like talking with somebody. And I always feel like, and you probably feel like this too, especially having to be an enterprising reporter, multimedia journalist, is you have to have conversations with people.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you just have to listen, because that trait is so hard for younger people.
Yes.
You're not necessarily going to get what you want out of it per se, but just being able to listen into it. So I always get stuck in conversations with sweet older ladies.
Oh, I do too. I'm trying to get out, and then I ask them a question. I'm like, wait, why did I ask that question? Because I am invested. At the same time, I got to go.
Yeah.
But I do, when I was a reporter, which I did for 5 years, that was my favorite thing, was talking to people and connecting with them and hearing their stories and asking them questions. Sometimes I'd have interviews go like way too long, which makes it harder for me to cut and edit. But I just love talking to people. So it was great.
So talking about that, so your time at BHS, so you were involved with soccer and basketball, as well as like back then it was still the Fourth Estate.
Yes. Oh, is it not the Fourth Estate anymore?
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh.
You put me on the spot.
Sorry.
Kenny's like, what is it called now? I'm like, fill in the blank. I think it is. But it's like, there's multiple people, I think, that put out like stories.
Okay.
Because the great thing, like, like the democratization of technology.
Yeah.
And so like Canva is free for education.
That's
and the
awesome.
kids get their hands on it. And if you saw the latest keynote of the product updates, like, it's just going to empower them to build dashboards, to learn about integrating data within their storytelling.
Cool.
So it's really going to take them to the next level. But I always end up in some like article with kids, and I'm like, hey, wait, when did we talk about this? And I'm like, whoa, we got to work on the angle on that photo a little bit. Like, I'm getting older. Let's make sure it's higher angle next time. But
that's cool. Yeah. So when I was here, I did soccer and basketball, newspaper, Fourth Estate at the time. Maybe. And then I was also student council, and I was National Honor Society. And I really feel like there was something else that I'm just like, I'm getting old now. So I know I did like French club back at the mid-high. I mean, it was still the mid-high, which, I mean, I know I graduated 12 years ago, but it just feels like a lifetime ago because so much has changed here since then. Like, the freshman academy did not exist, so
Well, for you, I mean, yeah, a little bit has changed. Okay, a little bit. I never ask a lady her age. Look, I have 3 sisters and my mama, and now I have 2 daughters. So look, I've learned my lesson young. But I mean, like for me, like the second part of the science wing wasn't there, right? The freshman academy was a parking lot. The gym had just opened up, and we weren't super happy about moving over because it was finally our time in the Brew crew. Because I didn't play basketball, I played football and soccer. So I thought I was going to have the front row at the old gym. And it was like, guess what? You're getting moved up here. And you're like, oh, man, this is tough.
I remember those days of when they moved because, I mean, I grew up going to the older gym.
Yep.
I remember, like, a 3 overtime game against Jinx that, like, people still talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I remember that move to the big gym. I think we call it big gym, old gym, little gym. So.
Little gym. I think they call it, so it's really confusing now because they call it the Phillips gym, but I think downtown, because the Bruins, and the Bruins did play there for a while, like in the early 90s, mid 90s, when we would have teams come in from out of state, because we were just from 82 on when we consolidated. I mean, we were just solid, especially on the men's side and the ladies Bruins. I can remember Coach Green and then Coach Thompson, who taught at Central, who's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah, I still talk to Coach Thompson. We were just texting during March Madness.
Coach T, shout out. He was just hitting me up about the Douglas Ayers scholarship, talking about during segregation, and we had him on Alumni Chat and kind of talked about that era. So it was cool to see him open up. I mean, he had talked about it in class because I had him for like geography, maybe. I don't remember what it was. I just knew I loved him, so I was like, I'm all in, whatever it is. But yeah, like we were so solid, and then like recently we just try to rebuild. But you have NIL for high school.
Do you
have
really?
open transfer, yes.
Oh gosh, I'm so behind.
So like you can lose kids. Wow. And the thing is, success sometimes is cyclical, and that's the same thing in sports and in life. So I mean, the Bruins will be back.
Yes.
So we're searching for a new head coach right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we'll see what happens.
Yes.
So best of luck to Tommy D in class of 91, 2-time state champ. He's up at Garden City as their head coach for Garden City Community College. So
you need to have my dad on sometime, and he's going to kill me for mentioning this. Ask him about, because he went to Sooner High when it was Sooner in college.
Yes.
Got to ask him about the 7 overtime game. I'm gonna leave that there for him to answer too.
All right, shout out Mr. Keleher. It's hard to connect with Sooner High Spartans sometimes because it was a short little window of time.
Yeah,
I feel like we have a lot of call high representation because we've had people all the way back to the 60s on the show, and especially like alumni stuff we engage with. But Sooner High, But we have some Sooner High interviews scheduled, and your dad would be golden. Let's talk about those days. I actually just sent the fight song to one of our donors from Sooner High. I was like talking to him in Oklahoma City when I was talking at an event, and they were like, I don't remember what the fight song was, and I found it on YouTube. And I was like, here you go. I thought of you. So,
that's cool.
What a great history. And I know that we're working on a documentary and stuff. I mean, that's going to take time, but tell that story to our kids. When we were split up, and the rivalry was legit.
Oh my gosh, listening to my dad's stories, it's just crazy the things they would do, bonfires, and just you couldn't cross one side of the river to the other, and or you would something would happen. It's just it's honestly sounds fun, but probably a really cool time for the city, but it's obviously better for us to all be connected
and to all be Bruins.
Yes.
And which we made, and shout out, we made that change, I think 2021, I think is when Chuck implemented that, where all of our elementaries and our middle schools, they became Bruins.
Oh, good.
So that unified identity, and we see that across peer districts across the country, and it's good for us. And it closes the door on some of the turmoil from the past. It's okay, guys, shout out, we love our Call High Wildcats and Sooner High Spartans, but we're Bruins from here on out.
I don't know. Those Sooner and Call High people are very dedicated. It was ingrained in me to be a Sooner Spartan.
Yes. See, I would have been a Call High Wildcat, but then I transferred 8th grade year to Madison because I played soccer. So I played soccer with a guy who was over there. So he was my ride to go to TFC practice. Then, so it was it works out better because the schedule didn't align. Yeah. So, shout out Mr. Bud Sexton.
He was, I went to St. John's Catholic School for elementary and middle, and he was our principal my last year. Yeah. Or no, my 7th grade year. Mrs. Jane Sears was our principal my last year.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Sexton. I know he's battling ALS, and we love him. He was really good to me, and I enjoyed my time at Madison. So I don't know, would I have been a Sooner High Spartan just because that one transfer? I don't know. But I remember transferring just to Madison, and that's back when we had separate basketball teams, and we came to play here at the gym. and people just chanting like traitor at me because I left. And I'm just
gosh.
yeah, that was my life. So I was like, look, basketball is fun, but like, I'm a state champ in soccer. Yeah. Like that's my jam. Or kicking footballs and looking pretty with long hair. I can do that for the Bruins on Friday night. But it was so fun during that era. So after you graduate from BHS, you head up to Lawrence.
Yes.
So talk about kind of your time at Lawrence and what was the degree that you pursued?
Yes. So University of Kansas, Rock Chalk. I got my major was journalism and mass communications with an emphasis on news and information. And then I got my minor in global and international studies. So from a young age, I knew I wanted to be a TV news reporter. I would watch Good Morning America every morning before school and see Diane Sawyer on there. And I just admired her so much. Yeah. I was like, I want to do that. So when I got to KU, I quickly, from my first semester, got involved in, it was Good Morning KU, just like a daily morning student broadcast, kind of like with a studio similar to what we have here now. And then as I, rose through the ranks and got to like the more like intense classes, we had an actual news set where we would do our news stories, our packages, and we would even do like live shots and stuff. So it was such a cool environment to get to be a part of all of that. At one point, I wanted to do sports, and obviously at KU with our basketball program, that's like the perfect place to be. But I ultimately just decided to stay on the news side. But that environment was so great for me to learn. Everybody was so nice. Like I could call up businesses and other like schools within the university, and they're all so accommodating. And it just gave me a really good chance to learn all of that and everything. I loved it. And
just like my buddy Taylor Doe says, that we hammer home is you got to have those practice reps. You got to have people investing in you along the way. Yes. And then like you said, when you're starting off freshman year and you're starting off in a morning show, like trying to carry that conversation sometimes is hard. Like I've always had the privilege of being a guest on a morning show on a regional network. And it sometimes, like, I don't know how they flip the script, where it's just like, here's breaking news, and then guess what, guys? Here, we're going to do a cooking segment, and then here's a paid section or a segment, and it's just like, God bless you. I don't know how you do that. Like, there's no way I could do that morning show. Like,
so I worked at Channel 2 here for a little bit, and I would fill an anchor on the morning weekend shows a few times. And man, that is an early alarm.
Yes.
It's like 2, 3 a.m. and you're just kind of like, what is happening? And then you have to be perky on TV for everyone waking up and drinking their coffee. And thankfully I only had to do that a few times because that was not my jam.
I think the girls, if you know down there kind of by Cherry Street in Tulsa with Readers, that historic gas station, they dominate their social content. Their content game is really good, the mom and the sister. But they like have a partnership with Channel 6 right now where they go on KOTV and do stuff. And they'll have the anchors do like little things like the candy where they eat it. And it's just like they record the sound. Yeah. And then they'll have Alan Crone like lick a hard candy. And I was like, I'm out. Like, why? Don't do that to Alan. He's a sweet man.
Yeah,
don't do it.
You have to be game for anything.
I know.
On the news, even like the evening shows. I know that they did like a hot wings challenge recently.
I saw that. Yes.
But that stuff is so fun for especially just kind of change up from the everyday norm. Like that stuff's really fun to do.
So you leave KU. So you go back in. Do you intern before you get the job in Idaho?
No. So while I was at KU, I did 2 internships that I think really helped me. One, not in news at all. It was for Congressman Frank Lucas in D.C. My summer after freshman year, I interned for 6 weeks with him out in D.C. and it was just such an eye-opening experience. And just probably one of my favorite summers ever, just getting to be immersed in all of that. And then the summer after my sophomore year, I interned at Channel 6 with John Holcomb in the sports department. And that was a very good kind of, experience in a real newsroom and like what it would actually be like. Yeah. But then I graduated in May of 2017 from KU, and I got my first job in July 2017, so just a couple months, which I was very lucky. And when I was looking for jobs in news, everybody was like, oh, where are you going to go? Because I could have gone anywhere. Yeah. And I was like, I would always joke, I'm going to end up somewhere random like Podunk, Idaho. Yeah. And sure enough, I ended up in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Yeah. Market 163, 161, depending on the day. Yeah. for perspective, New York City is market 1.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, it was just the best experience. I went out there not knowing anybody, had never been there before. I just knew that it would be an adventure, and that's what I really was looking for, especially fresh out of college. No attachments other than my parents here. So I was like, I just got to go. And it was 2 of the best years of my life out there. I loved it so much. I got to experience so much, both in work and journalism and being a TV reporter and getting to anchor and all that stuff, but also just I lived an hour and a half from Grand Teton National Park in Jackson Hole and an hour and a half from Yellowstone National Park. And there's great hiking even closer than that. So just getting to play around in the mountains for 2 years was just the best.
And it's so picturesque. Like we talked about before we came on screen, was that, you know, I spent some time there and it's so beautiful.
Yes.
And it really does put life in perspective when you start to get out there. You are the minority as a human, and you're just like, wow, like there's so much in this world and our ecosystem that just happens without us for the most part.
Yeah, I've been lucky and I've gone back almost every single year since I moved away. I try to alternate seasons. So I go hiking one year, skiing the next. I was just back there in February, and every time I'm there, I'm like, okay, how can I move back here?
Yeah.
I'm not going to. My mother would not like that.
Yes.
But I just love it out there so much. It's just so peaceful and like unlike anywhere else.
My mom lives like 3 blocks from me, so I cannot say any comments about the moms. Moms love their children to be close, especially when they have multiple kids.
Yes.
Like we were saying before, like my sister Courtney is the only one that's not living in Bartlesville right now. So
that's crazy. Courtney and I even went to preschool together.
Shout out.
We go way back, and now like I just saw her at the gym a couple months ago in Tulsa. Like, but I love that kind of community. Having that.
And Courtney, like the crazy thing about her is she goes on to play at RSU. She walks on, then goes on to be full scholarship and captain. Goes through 3 coaching changes, that goes through the transition from NAIA, which is what Oklahoma Westland is, and then goes to D2.
That's so cool.
And so like, I tell her, sis, like, who cares about my career? You've had the best career in our family because you never gave up, right? Yeah. I blew my knee out. So I blew my knee out at D2. And then once you're in the swampy weather of Mississippi, about an hour and a half away from Memphis, and you took a Greyhound to get there, and somebody was stabbed on the connecting bus to get there.
Sounds about right.
You end up back in Oklahoma. So what story has stayed with you that you covered during your time there in Idaho Falls?
Oh gosh, probably one of the first ones that comes to mind, just because it was an adventure.
Yeah.
I got to do a ride along with a snowplow driver in the middle of a blizzard up to the Montana state line. His name was Dirk. I need to go back and watch that story because it was just one of those experiences. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just a girl from Oklahoma on a snowplow in Idaho.
Yeah.
With this man named Dirk talking about snowplow driving. Yeah. There's another one where I got to go fishing with a group of men I think they were all from like the same retirement community, but their families had homesteaded there in that area, in the Swan Valley area of Idaho. And so I got to go like on a boat fishing with them. It's just things like that, like those experiences. And more than anything, though, it's the people who stayed with me, like some of the best people up there. And my coworkers up there, we were all in the same situation where we were all far from home, didn't know anybody. So they all became like family, and I still talk to them pretty regularly. And it's just such a special place that when I go back and visit, I go back and visit the station and see a bunch of my old friends. And it's just such a wonderful place.
So speaking of people who invest in you, who do you think has impacted you, either family or professor or teacher, the most in your professional journey?
I'll probably say my parents, Dan and Janie Keleher, hello. They, growing up, getting to watch them just be a part of the community and see how much they've invested. I'm going to start crying. Seeing how much they've invested in their community here in Bartlesville, and also us kids. Like, they never missed a game. My mom took me to soccer practice every single Monday and Thursday, I think is when they were. They were just so involved in our lives and the community that, one of the reasons I wanted to go into news and I loved it was because so I could be involved in those communities. And I think that's just from watching my parents, how they were just the role models that they continue to be for me.
They continue to be a beacon of light, you know, not only for yourself, but the rest of us here. Because what happens is, I feel like as, you know, your family gets older and other people, and we all age, time is undefeated, right? But the thing is, how do we carry over those competencies of care, grace, and compassion to younger generations so that they invest, so we don't become the next community that falls by the wayside? Absolutely. And even if we economically struggle, or if we fail to diversify our economic engine, that we still invest back into people who need it, right? And I always say the trauma and adversity, you know, it is all over the tax bracket, right? So we must show that love and care and give those opportunities wherever and whenever we can. Because if we don't open the door, maybe someone doesn't do that for somebody. But we got to strive for better. And I think for sure your mom and dad, like, definitely carry the torch. And they are some of those kind of torch setters for our community.
It's kind of crazy how involved they are. They're all on like 5 different boards, and like they're all like going to different meetings. Like, it's so cool to know that and to be a part of that.
It is awesome. And I definitely mention your daddy when I'm like talking to people my age that have moved back, and I'm just like, guys, like, we've got to step up. Like, no, there's no need for Dan to be on 25 boards anymore. Like, we have to step up. And I know we have kids and all this stuff. But if Bartlesville is going to take that next step, it's going to be because of generations, our generation and below, carrying the torch and showing respect and honor to everyone who came before to lay the footprint of what we got now.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, didn't mean to make you cry. But so outside here,
it happens a lot.
It's okay. Yes, like me watching my retirement count the other day. So with that being said, so what about a professor? Like during your time at KU, was there somebody, or even here at BHS, like who really invested in you?
So here, I'd definitely say Miss Tresner, because she's just obviously the best. Then also Mrs. Boswick, my AP English teacher senior year. Those two I learned so much from, and just so helpful, and I knew I could go to either of them, and they're just fantastic. And then when I was at KU, my professor, Max Utzler, he was such a champion for me, and really helped me believe in myself. Because, I mean, when you're in college, you know, you hear all these stories of people like, oh, this is what I want to do. Especially in news, it's such a niche industry that not everybody who wants to do it is going to make it. But he is somebody who really helped me believe in myself and know that, no, you have the talent, you have the skills, like, this is going to happen. Because I remember when I graduated and I was just like so nervous because I was applying to like 40 jobs, wasn't hearing much back. But I would reach out to him, and he was just so like supportive. And then, it's been great.
It is crazy. You know, I think of Miss T as well for myself, and I've said this on other episodes, but just the impact that those certain professors, like I can think of when I came back from Delta State University and I came back to RSU in Claremore, like, you know, I had Jerry Keleher, who taught entrepreneurship. She also worked at our economic development hub, the Innovation Center, where we had an incubator for small businesses. And I got a perfect score in her class. And it was like she decided she was going to show love and grace and open doors for me. And it's like those little things go a long way. And then I end up getting a job at one of their clients, at Lucas Metalworks in Oshaleta, became the director of marketing. And then I went back to the university to work for her as she became director. So it's definitely those relationships, like it's everything, like you said earlier, about people. So when did you know that you had the opportunity to come back to the Tulsa market from Idaho Falls?
So in news, you work on contracts. So I was nearing the end of my 2-year contract in Idaho. And as much as I loved it up there, I knew I wasn't going to stay because it was a small market. And I felt like I need to go to the next level to keep growing. And part of me, I knew I always kind of wanted to come back to Tulsa. I didn't know if I wanted to come back immediately after Idaho or like have one more place in between. But I just started applying to anything I could see that was open. I applied to a couple jobs in Colorado Springs, and then to openings here in Tulsa. And it just worked out that I got a call from the news director at Channel 2, and he was like, we'd love to hire you. I mean, obviously interviewed and everything, but it just felt so like the timing was just right. and I just knew that like I wanted to get home, especially when you've been gone for 2 years. Like during that time, my brother got married and my sister had her first baby, and so it's stuff that like, you know, it's not easy for me to get home for. And my family were so close, and so it was so important for me to try and get a little closer. I almost ended up in Colorado Springs, but I like knew, I was like, oh no, I got to get back to Tulsa if I can. Like I'd be stupid to turn down this opportunity. Yeah.
And Channel 2 legacy goes back to radio days. Kind of like KTUL, but KTUL's changed a little bit since you've left the broadcast news game. But their studio is kind of weird. Like it's small. Last time I was there, I did something, and I just forgot how, like, Channel 2's got or Channel 6 has that amazing studio downtown now. And the same thing in Oklahoma City. They just opened up some new stuff with their sister station, Channel 9. But, I was like, whoa. Because you just have this idea. It's like when I met Jim Giles as a kid when he was at the community center. And I didn't know that some people have, like, one good side and one bad side. And he had, like, a big mole right here. God bless his soul. He was a legend. But I just started crying immediately. It's like a 7-year-old boy. So Courtney was a baby. So that probably set off some tears from my mom. Sorry, Mom. But yeah, it's like you just see behind the curtain. And so when you were talking with kids today, what were the kind of the key points that you were trying to make to them about pursuing a career in broadcast news?
I just kind of like showed them, I showed them old clips from my days there. But then, you know, like one of the questions was, you know, what other classes did you take at, you know, college that helped you prepare for news? I was like, that's such a good question. I feel like I probably rambled in my answer. I was like, wow, that's great. And just kind of prepared them for the realities of it because it's not nearly everything you see on TV, especially for a reporter like I was. Your time on TV is 5% of your job. The other 95% is the hard work behind the scenes. So kind of try to emphasize that. And also, though, just like the different experiences you can have in news, some of which I've already talked about, you know, you don't have to sit at your desk every day, but you get out and get to have, you know, some positive adventures, sometimes are negative adventures. You know, I've definitely seen my fair share of things that not a lot of people should have to see or experience because of it. But, I mean, it just all helps develop you into the person you are now and the journalist you become. So kind of just tried to convey that, like the positives and, you know, here's the realities, though. Yeah.
So at Channel 2, how is your position different from your position at Channel 8 in Idaho Falls?
So pretty much the same. I was in news for close to 5 years. I was at Channel 2 for a little over 2.5. For most of my career, I worked 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., so the night side. So you get the harder stories. But when I was at Channel 2, it's definitely just like a whole nother level compared to the smaller market. You have to bring your A game every day, and it's just such a big area, more populated, more competition. But I loved getting to do it because I loved reporting up here in Bartlesville as much as I could. They called me the Bartlesville reporter at Channel 2 because I just loved getting to come and share the stories here, the community. And I know that was my way of giving back as I could. But it's also important to share, you know, the good and the bad going on here. So that was probably my favorite thing about getting to be there.
What do you think was the hardest story that you had to cover during your time at Channel 2?
Oh, there's several. And they're all sad. Probably the one that has stayed with me the most is 2 siblings, Miracle and Tony, who disappeared together Memorial Day weekend. The last video we had of them was from a camera on an apartment complex of them holding hands walking toward a river. And then I was on the scene with their families and first responders, like searching for them for like 3 days. You know, talked to their dad was in jail, talked to him on the phone from jail. Their grandma was out there. And just, you know, unfortunately they were both found in the river after several days. And just like the devastation of being there with the family day after day. I still pass by that scene and think about them every single time. Those are 2 that I'll never forget. And that was 2020, I think, or 2021, something around there. Just stories like that where you're it's obviously something tragic has happened, and then you're with the family. Like, I remember at the last day of that, after they had been found and I'd wrapped up my final story and I was going home just crying. Yeah. And I put on like calming music because it can be overwhelming.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, it's just your job. You got to do it, you know, yeah. And you got to share those stories with the community to help bring awareness.
Yeah. And that's the hard part of the job, right? Yeah. It's not always out at Mayfest just having a good time, or
yes.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Shout out Trav Meyer, Luis.
Yeah.
That's always my favorite time of year for him. Is he's just out there drinking some beer and some corn dogs.
Yeah, that would be a great job. I'd love that.
Yeah, how do I get that?
I never got that opportunity.
Yeah, do not put me in charge of severe weather. That would be terrible. I did not take too many science classes in college. Yeah. So
I did love getting to do storm chasing. There was one day that also sticks out. I woke up it was a Sunday in October. Mm-hmm. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning in Chicago because I was there for a wedding that weekend. I flew home, went straight to work. I anchored the 5 o'clock news on Sunday, and then we had tornadoes come in, so they put me on tornado coverage, and one hit Coweta.
Yeah.
And so I was in Coweta until midnight with first responders covering the tornado damage. Thankfully, like, nobody was hurt. It hit the middle school. And then I woke up the next day and did it all again. But I loved it.
Yeah. It was just like rinse and repeat, almost.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to leave broadcast news?
The news industry is difficult. Mm-hmm. There's not much glitz and glamour there at all. Pay is pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Lori Fulbright, who she's a gem. But it's easy to get burnt out in it. Mm-hmm. And because I was doing most of my own stuff, like, you have to find your story and then you have to set up your stuff. And then a lot of times I would shoot my own interviews, write my story, edit my own videos, then have to go live. And just doing that day after day after day, you get burnt out really quickly. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of got to a point where I was like, I need a break from this. I need something different, because I was just kind of like, you know, in my mind, it was like there was like a flame inside of me that was like about to just burn out. And then so it was almost like a God moment. The district attorney in Tulsa, Steve Koonsweiler, called me one weekend and was like, hey, I have a potential opening. Would you be interested? He was a family friend of ours. And so I was like, yes, please. And so it took a couple months. But then, so I became his director of communications and community outreach. And I like it because I'm still getting to do a lot of the things I did in news, but just like the opposite. Like, I'm still working with reporters nearly every day. You know, they send me questions about cases. I set up interviews. I write press releases. Mm-hmm. I'm still very much like, I still feel like I'm part of the community and in the know. And that was something that was really important to me in my next job. So it's been a good transition for, I guess, the past almost exactly 3 years.
Wow. So what would you tell somebody that maybe is looking into a career like on the public sector side with the district attorney? How is it different? You know, I think of kids that, you know, like I have a marketing degree or somebody with communications degree. Like, how is it different than being in the private sector and handling comms for a company?
I haven't done the private sector side, so I don't know.
It's a wild ride.
But for me, the person who held the position before me, unfortunately passed away. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have anyone there to like guide me. Yeah. I just really had to like learn on the fly and like kind of figure it out on my own. And honestly, 3 years later, I'm still figuring it out. Like, I think, which is important. I think we should always be learning. But it's just working for the government. It's been good. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely like, you have to be careful. Like, there's a lot I cannot say. Yeah. And like when talking to reporters, and especially, you know, working for the district attorney and having all these criminal cases, it's been a really cool like peek behind the curtain of how everything works. But I don't know.
I don't know. I will tell you. I would tell you from my perspective, and like, I don't know how God will intervene in my life again. And maybe that's what I end up doing, you know, when the kids are a little bit older. But when things are good, they're good.
Yes.
You know, we have client meetings. The Amex bill's not as important if it's a good quarterly report. But no, it's fun. You build that sense of community. You work with your local, your trade media. You work in your trade industries. You work with lobbyists, or you lobby on your behalf of your industry or company. And then you work with regional and national media. It's a lot of that. And then for me, it was managing a team. So all the SEO, all the stuff like the digital representatives did for our news broadcast, doing all that. But to that point, it does you kind of burn out after a while, because it's like I'm working 12-hour days. Yeah. But then the check clears and you're like, oh, okay, okay. Just a simple boy from Oak Park. When that check cleared, I was like, oh, okay.
I would say working for the public side, that check clearing, it's nice, but it's probably not going to be as nice on the private side.
No. But like with me, like with the school, like being the internship director for the district, like it's a lot of the same stuff I did. Yeah. It's a just different angle. But I get to be home with the kids, right? And I don't have to worry about traveling coast to coast and trying to placate and pander to get certain legislation passed that's going to benefit. It feels a lot more authentic because, like we were talking about with your parents and talking about yourself and your family, like we love it here. We love our home. And so it means so much more to me than if I'm in Sacramento or Reno. Like, it just doesn't mean the same. Yeah. Because we know everybody. You can't go, my Lord, you can't go to Walmart. Everyone out there probably knows. You're just like dodging. You're like, do I have time for this conversation or not? So
yeah, I was up here about a month ago, and I went to my parents' church and a dinner there, which is the church I grew up going to, St. John's. And I ran into my second grade teacher, one of my middle school teachers, and like parents of like old friends, and like I just spent the entire time like talking to people. I was like, this is so great. And then it was for Shamrock the Ville, so then we did that and like saw a bunch of people, and then I went to Moxie after and ran into someone I used to work with and other people, and it's just like, but I love that. Like that's something I truly just like love about Bartlesville, is that you can't go anywhere without like seeing somebody, you know. I remember going to dinner with my parents one night, and I think we were at Bricktown Brewery, and 4 groups in a row, they all stopped to say hi to my parents. But I think that's such a huge plus about a town like Bartlesville. Like, I just love that about it here.
You have a place, a place to truly call home, which is a good Bon Jovi song as well. Shout out Bon Jovi. Talk about a glow up. We can all hope. So with that being said, where do you see yourself going from here on out? Because your story's just begun.
I know, it's kind of crazy. I just turned 30, which I know everybody's like, oh, that's so young. No, it's old. I'm a grandma. I don't know. I think I'm still, you know, my post-news, because after college, my 5-year plan was I'm going to do news for 5 years. If I don't like it, or if I'm not enjoying myself, I'm going to move on to something else, and that's what I did. But beyond that, I don't know. I haven't really planned that out. I think I just want to, you know, continue getting involved in my community, whether it is here in Bartlesville or in Tulsa. That's something that I'm really passionate about, is, you know, what ways can I feel like I'm making an impact. So, you know, I'm doing that at my job now, but I know there's more ways and other ways that I can continue to do that. So just, you know, finding that sense of fulfillment and community in my life. I think those are things I'm going to continue chasing, no matter what I'm doing or where I'm living.
But Good Morning America calls. OG Katie is definitely catching that flight.
Yes, I'll be there.
You'll be there. And like the game has changed so much on the national stage. Like I'm not like, well, George, I can't never say his last name, but he worked for Clinton, like as his press director. Stephanopoulos. Always mess that one up. Yeah, and then like Michael Strahan, like I didn't win a Super Bowl, nor am I the sack champion or single season sack record holder for the New York Giants. So it's like changed so much. Like if I had my dream, like I would host take Stephen Colbert out and like give it more of a Letterman style. Like that would be my dream. Like of course being president and running the world, some would say. You know what I'm saying? Like that. But I mean, if you're talking about like be happy, like you could just choose anything, then like the Late Late Show, like, and be able, so you still get to have all those important people, and you still get to have very important conversations and kind of drive the narrative. But it's through satire. And it's like, guys, come on. Just like we said about Grand Teton, like we're a piece of this ecosystem. We're not the whole thing. Like,
I think the best piece of advice I ever got when I worked in news was from one of the anchors I worked with in Idaho Falls, Todd Coons. 'Cause I think it was like, we're having a bad day. We're like, how do you, because news is hard. News is not easy. It is not glamorous. I would do my makeup on the curb next to a murder scene. That would be my day. You're sweating. You don't get dinner breaks. You don't get lunch breaks. I mean, it's fun. You get your adventures, but I probably sound so negative. I'm sorry. But they're really, really tough days. And so it was one of those days. And I was like, how, because he had been in the industry for 20 plus years. I was like, how have you sustained this so long? And he said, you find a place that you love and you plant your roots there. It's like, it doesn't matter where it is, but it's a place where you feel like you can call home, and you create your family there, whether it's your blood family or people you choose to be your family. And that is how you are going to have a happy, sustainable life. And I think it applies to whatever industry you're in. And that's been something that I have really held on to ever since that time. I mean, that was 7 years ago now. And I still vividly remember that conversation. So for me, I feel like I've, my whole life leading up to 3 years ago, I wanted to be a news reporter. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do this anymore. What do I do now? I have to pivot. And so I think for me, it's been less about chasing the job and more about chasing like the feeling of peace and community and happiness and family and all of that. And I feel like I'm close to getting it. So that's pretty cool.
It takes time, right?
Yes.
Time is like the greatest tool that we have, that we get to go through that experience. Because you're right, when you're younger, you're just like, not that you're not young, because like I said, you're 21 to me. When you're young, it's just like, I gotta be at this checkpoint and this next checkpoint. And if I'm not, it's a failure. Because like, we can talk about the societal pressures of social media, but in the professional game, LinkedIn, oh my gosh, that's a black hole of wanting to feel depressed. When you're out there and you just see people, I landed this, I landed that, and you're just like, I'm not there, but you're not supposed to be there yet. And like you said, if you plant your roots where you feel truly, authentically connected, then you did win. Not everybody's trying to win. It's not a zero-sum game all the time. And that sage advice should reign true for everyone out there listening. It's like, be happy where you're at. And you will grow. And it might not be like when you're a kid and you're pushing those little Hot Wheels and you're like, you know what, I'm going to be a NASCAR driver. That's going to be me. And make no right turns. But, I mean, it just takes time.
And it might not be what you envisioned it to be, but it could be so much better. But, you just have to go through those trials and tribulations along the way to get there. For sure.
Rome wasn't built in one night. Rome did not smell very great last time I was there. I'm going to throw that out there. Last place I had Burger King as well.
I spent a semester there in college living right next to the Vatican. It's the best.
Oh, it is the best. Oh, for sure. Bad news for me, I went down to, so I was at the church, right? I went down to the basement where all the tombs were. There was a dead girl hidden in one of the tombs while I was there. And so when I left, we were in Monaco, I think, after that. And then we were watching the news, and I was like, oh, cool. I think I touched that one when I was, paying my respects to the former priests that were passed away. I always feel like that happens to me. It's, right after I go somewhere, because I traveled a lot, and I was like, oh, man, I miss being beheaded in Mexico. That's cool. But, the Vatican, if you haven't been, you have to go. There's so much history. I was just hoping that that he didn't die and that the smoke come up, because I'm like, then I've got to check my smoke book. I'm like, what does that mean?
Which smoke color do I need to look for?
They have, a pattern going up. I'm like, okay, that's that. Okay. I didn't want to be, not culturally sound in Catholicism and be like, okay, this smoke is important.
Oh, my gosh, that's so funny.
So where's your favorite place that you've been, that you traveled, either domestically or globally?
Globally, for sure, Italy, Rome. Rome is always home. But here locally, the Tetons and Jackson Hole and Yellowstone, just that whole area. Oh my gosh, I just love it so much. It's like my happy place. When I picture my happy place, it's standing with the Snake River in front of me and the Tetons in front of me and the sunshine on my face. I love it up there.
See,
if nobody's been, you have to go.
I'm so different. If talking about the Late Late Show, Ed Sullivan Theater, New York, and I was able to travel to New York a lot, in my mid-20s, where I don't have to drive a car, and my kids have a neighborhood school. And not that they're not going to have that in Bartlesville, especially Kane, but that, and then globally, I don't know. Iceland was pretty great. I don't know if they really like
to go there.
I don't know if they really like having tourists.
Probably not.
But
I think that's why it's called Iceland.
They'll stay away. Go to Greenland, and then you're like, oh man, this is not going to work out.
The Vikings knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. But like outside of Iceland, I would definitely say Monaco. Monaco is beautiful. It's like cut right there on the edge of the Mediterranean, and the water is just see-through. And you realize how poor you are when you're in Monte Carlo, because Russian oligarchs are pulling up in their yachts, and you're just like, oh, that's like the whole city of Dewey right there.
Yes, for real.
So, yeah, you have to travel and you have to feel lost. And sometimes, like for me, it's definitely like having a breakdown and being like, I need to make it home, because you've gone further than, like for me, than anybody else that travel in my family. And sometimes when you don't know where you're at is when you grow the most.
Absolutely.
So, and you got to feel a little lost.
Yeah. My minor was in global and international studies. So, I mean, we did a spring break trip as part of one of my classes to Costa Rica, which was super cool. But then I took a bunch of like anthropology classes for it, and just, I think exposing yourself to as much as possible, like as much outside of your bubble and outside of your world to see how the rest of the world works can just be so like good for you as a person, how you grow and how you think about things and how you view the world. I think all of that is just to be well-rounded, just helps you in all aspects of your life. For
sure. And especially what I love about Italy, speaking of Italy, is like all the different regions, they're so different, like Florence versus Venice.
Yes. Yeah, I was just there in September with my parents, and I think my favorite, other than Rome, Tuscany. Oh my gosh, just sitting there with a glass of wine, staring out at the countryside. There's nothing better. Yeah. Absolutely nothing better.
Very peaceful. Yes. And the train system, a lot better than America.
Oh my gosh, so much better. You don't need a car there either.
No, it's great. And the cars, like, it was so stereotypical of what they thought of Americans. Like, every time we'd go get a rental car, they'd be like, give us some mid-size SUV, and they think it's like a tank. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, thank you, but I can do the little car. It's okay.
Yeah, we rented a car for Tuscany, and our car rental guy was like, saw we were from America, and he was like, oh, I love New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason Kelsey. I was like, oh my gosh. And like, we're big Chiefs fans. Yeah. And obviously I love Taylor Swift, but I was just like, that's crazy that it is this global reaching that that's the first thing he brings up to us is he's like, oh yeah, I watch it every single week. It's like this Italian just watching our American Football Brothers podcast every week. It's super cool.
And their NFL is going to be played in Australia next year or the year after. And then they're going to have games in Spain.
Yeah, in Brazil.
Yes. So it's going to continue to spread. Yes. So I love it. I just hope soccer gets better on the guys' side before we host the World Cup next year. Because if we get embarrassed at home.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go. They're going to be in Kansas City at Arrowhead.
That'll be awesome.
I need to get tickets for that.
Maybe the last time for Arrowhead.
Let's not even talk about it.
Let's not talk about it. You're not all for the move to Kansas. I hit a sore spot with Katie here. Do not have the Chiefs move away.
It's so historic.
I know. So speaking of historic, what are some local restaurants that are your favorite to hit when you're back home in Beeville?
Frank and Lola's.
Yeah.
I love the bread pudding. Oh my gosh, just the best. Others, oh geez, really putting me on the spot. Painted Horse. It's always good. I really love that. And then Crossing Second, I love because I loved Rolling Pin, and I know that they have a lot of their same menu items.
I worked at Rolling Pin before I left for college.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, their hot stuff sandwiches were the best.
The soup.
Yes.
Oh, the soup.
Oh my gosh, their Thursday soup was always my favorite.
Like Santa Fe?
Yes, their Santa Fe soup. I've found like a dupe recipe that I make every winter.
Well, I'm going to have to get that from you. Because my mom will still be like, you remember that Santa Fe soup, right?
Oh, my gosh.
She'd have me bring home, like, big tubs of it.
Yeah, I remember, like, we would go on our lunch breaks because we'd off-campus lunch.
Yeah. The kids don't have that now.
I know. That's what I've heard. My cousin was here when they took it away, and she was like, you signed this petition to help bring it back? I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would like stand in line and see their count for their hot stuff sandwiches go down, and then it'd be like right as I got to the front, they'd be out of their like ham and cheese. No.
Food. Is the essence of life. Well, Katie, I think this cannot be overstated that we're so proud of you and have been watching you, and especially you're starting Idaho Falls and get to see all the videos, and it was one of my favorite things when I did see your parents when I was back home before we moved home. We're so proud of you, kiddo, and I think you're going to do huge things. And never forget, there's always a spot for you right here back home in Bartlesville.
Yes, always. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Well, thanks. And listen, you can catch Katie on social. Just leave positive comments, okay? During her, please, goodness, I get enough hate from other stuff. Don't hate on Katie. She's awesome. So thanks for joining us today. We look forward to having you guys for another episode of Alumni Chat. For Katie, I'm Anthony. Let's go Bruins.
Go Bruins.
Let's go.